Okay everyone, it is week 7 garden tour. I have a little more time. It's actually about 7:30 in the afternoon. Sun's gone right over the trees. You can see it right up here. But it's gone over the trees, so the whole garden is finally in some shade, so it's not like unbearable to be out here for too long. So I'm gonna show you guys what's happening in the garden and tell you what we've been harvesting. We got our first noodle bean the other day. Hold up your arm. Hold it up here. It's a big go long bean, huh?
This is our first ever noodle bean.
You wanna see it?
Our first ever noodle bean.
What do you got, Jara?
Look at okra.
Okra. Is that our first okra too?
Yes.
You gonna try to size it against yourself? Is it pretty big?
No.
Hold it there, baby, with your hand, and I'll pull it down.
It's longer than Kaya's.
All right, let's check it on Sissy's. Hold it up there.
I'll hold it. Oh my arm alarma.
Oh, my arm alarma. And now we have quite a few more starting to come in and hang down up here. We also have this second one on this side climbing and one on this side climbing. That other one is getting close, but not quite there yet. Here we have our little potato cucumbers. All of this white on here is diatomaceous earth, actually, just so you guys know. We were having a bit of a problem with some pests, so we came in and sprinkled it, and then it rained. But we do have some little potato cucumbers growing, and those just look really neat. Got a couple of those coming in. Lettuce is all going to seed, and they put off little bitty flowers, so we figured we better just let them, and we'll collect seeds. Our cucumbers are really starting to climb now, and we've actually gotten about 6 or more cucumbers off of these vines. There's another one right there coming in. The golden delicious muskmelon is really starting to vine out and get up there. And the celery that I planted in here just did not do so hot. Here it gets pretty hot pretty quick, so trying to grow things that are more of a spring crop are kind of hard because of the weather. We kind of go from extreme cold to extreme heat really fast. There's not a whole long spring period here. So we'll try again in the fall and see if maybe we can get a better crop then. We did get some celery over here, and I'll show you that in a little bit. These peppers, oddly enough, on this end of the bed are doing pretty good, and then way on the other side of the bed, they're not like the best, but they're finally starting to get there. This side just seems to be where it's at. Over here it's hopping. These are the Sugar Rush Peach, and he actually has some peppers growing on these. And then there's my zinnias, and I have actually harvested some zinnias over the last week. So it looks kind of bare, but this morning it was full, and I came out and cut some for our cousin's birthday. And we have these big old okras over here. They're getting big. We've actually gotten one okra off, and if you look, there's one right there. And then that one over there actually has one that probably, yep, is ready to come off of there. These are the only two that have created any okra just yet, but it won't be long before they all do. Here we have our first Reza Macedonian pepper, this will turn red and then start getting some like stripes on it. It'll be really neat when we finally get to see the end of that creation. Our squash plant, still growing some squash in there. We've harvested probably about 7 squash already just recently, and I'm sure it won't be long before we get quite a bit more. Look how massive this flower is. It's like the size of my hand, but it's so cool. And these flowers last like forever. They're so neat. I think zinnia might be my new favorite. Zucchini has been doing decent over here. We've actually gotten about 4 or 5 zucchini off of this plant, but then we got hit with what seems to be some vine boring. We're trying to fix the problem and hopefully get some more zucchini out of it. Over here we have the banana nut butternut squash, and it's doing pretty good. We actually have some growing in here, a couple all over the place here. My overload of flowers is really starting to kick off and grow. The strongest overpowered the weak, so we shall see what colors we get out of all of this. Our loofah gourds are making themselves right at home over here on this TP trellis. They're doing good. We've got some little blooms over here going on, and these funky clusters that they create. And look at these little tendrils. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? It's almost like ramen noodles. So cool. Our sunflowers are now just about as tall as I am. Let me turn you around. So these are our sunflowers. And it actually is getting its head on it, so it won't be long. There's some more DE on there. Or as Jay calls it, diverticulitis, because he can never remember diatomaceous earth for some reason. But there is a head on it, and it won't be long before we start seeing these things bloom. Super excited about that. Jay was given a bunch of ghost pepper plants. The girls actually said that it is called a ghost pepper plant, so that's why the peppers actually look like ghosts. We have been harvesting beans for a while now, and I succession sowed beans. So we harvested quite a few, and then we've kind of had a lull. Today was actually the first handful of beans all over again, and it was actually from the first set of bean plants that we had originally. They kind of cut giving us green beans for a little bit, but then they started producing flowers again, and they're all bloomed out and starting to give us some beans. So we're pretty happy about having all these beans. That tastes pretty good. Here is our celery that is making it, and I'm guessing it's just this area gets a bit more shade than the first set over there, or I don't know, maybe it holds water better or something. But these are doing quite a bit better than the last section. Yard is still holding out and going strong. And Jay loved it, by the way, when he tried it. Here we have some black beans, and Jay actually kind of was pretty worried yesterday when he seen that this plant was down and drying and dying. And I had to explain to him that it's okay because they're black beans, so when it dies out, then we'll finally be able to harvest these beans. This pod is actually already done, and we've taken a few pods off, but it just has our little midnight turtle black beans on the inside. Opening a pod with one hand is actually a little harder than it looks. But yeah, it just has our tiny little black beans in there, so I'm pretty excited for black beans, homemade, fresh from the garden. Here's some more beans. These are also black beans, and it's pretty neat. They kind of get this pinkish purplish striping on them, and then they turn the brown. And from what I hear, you can actually eat them green if we want, but the point of these were to have black beans. More of Jay's gifted plants. We're planning on putting them right here where we originally had flowers twice and still never grew them. So these pepper plants now have a new home. Over here we did end up losing quite a few tomato plants due to all of the flooding that we got a while back. And like I originally said, I figured the larger plants would make a comeback and pull through. And they are doing just that, pulling through and making it work. I mean, they're giving us some pretty vastly sized tomatoes here. And what I'm gonna do, this thing is massive. I'm excited to see that one turn color. What I have planned to do is come in and cut some of the suckers off some of these larger plants and try to replace some of the ones that we lost, so that maybe we can save some of the tomato loss. We'll see how it goes. Our cucamelon plant is finally vining out and starting to grow up this pole here. It has taken quite a while, but it's finally getting somewhere. And something neat I seen this morning was this little stem here was actually just left behind from a tomato plant that didn't seem like it was going to make it through, and it actually grew a little sucker. And it's the only cherry tomato plant that survived from the first round, so we'll see how that goes. We also have some little seedlings going on over here, right there too, but they may not have enough time to grow. We'll see how it goes. Gardening is totally a trial and error kind of thing, and this year proves that completely. Sorry about the mess in the back. We are actually still adding mulch into the garden. The first time around we had a dump truck bring a couple of loads in, and our neighbor helped us spread it all. This time, not so easily. We're just kind of picking it up from the free mulch place up the road on a trailer and dumping it out, and then wheelbarrowing it in, and our wheelbarrow finally gave out, so we're kind of at a standstill. We've been putting the boxes that we've been saving underneath to try to help with all of the weeds. So got a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. That's what gardening's all about. The pumpkins are still just getting larger and larger and kind of taking over. It's almost like a pumpkin jungle over here. We almost didn't get in here, and in some places probably still didn't get in here quick enough for the weed coverage before some of these vines just came out and rerooted themselves. But my hope is that we at least get one pumpkin out of these plants this year. Watermelon are vining out and loving life right about now. Lots of flowers, and as far as I can tell, still no melons just yet, but I'm sure it won't be long before we start to see some. The peanut gallery is looking bigger and has been blooming quite a bit, so hopefully it won't be long before we see some peanuts growing. I mean, obviously we won't see the peanuts because they'll be under the ground, but you know, hopefully it won't be long before we get to harvest some peanuts. How about that? Whew! A breeze just came in, and let me tell you, it feels nice because even though it's shaded, it is still very warm out here. We have some corn, and it is actually getting pretty tall now. This is actually downhill from me, so if I was even with it, it'd be quite a bit taller to me. This is the glass gem corn. So this is going to be our popcorn, as long as we ears, because this over here, also a bit downhill from me, is, and if you can't tell, some of these are taller than me, really. There you go. These are our peaches and cream corn, and some of the ears look to be ready, but I'm going to give it a little bit more time because it does look like the other ears still have some time to go. But that is pretty much the garden in a nutshell. Lots of weeds still. The first portion, the front portion of the garden is actually pretty weed free, or pretty close to weed free for right now. The back half is the area that is still needing the work. We came through the other day, Jalen and I, and de-weeded the main beds up top here and started on the sunflower bed, and then it just started raining on us. So the middle of the sunflower bed, I'll show you, looks like a mess. This is the middle of the sunflower bed. There's actually peppers right there. You can barely tell because of all the weeds that have decided to come in. But if you look farther down, it all looks nice and clean. And then, you know, you get to the middle area where we got rained on. It still needs some work. So we'll get out here eventually and get it all cleaned up so that these plants have lots of room and nutrients. Anyway, that's about it for us today. So thanks for watching along. Hope you enjoyed the tour. Hopefully there will be some actual harvesting next week. I'll try to. I try to harvest every day, but I'm sure you guys would like to see what I'm harvesting, so maybe I'll try to remember to bring my camera out whenever I do some harvesting, and you guys will get to see what it is we're harvesting next week. I'll try to save some stuff. We'll see. Alright, like this video, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Bye guys.